This episode, guys, I got something real fucking special for you guys. Fucking pumped up, juiced up, like just jamming on that Play to the Trees, Awynn shit, Ancient Ancestral Foundation. The new single from Pitiful Spawn would be the anthem of this episode if it was finished yet. But I terribly sorry to myself, letting myself down and working on some stuff out of order, you know, like a vending machine where you try to get a candy bar from the vending machine and there's candy in the vending machine, but it says out of order, so you can't get the candy bar. So I want to get, as much as I want to get Ancient Ancestral Foundation on this episode for its anthem, just enjoy the fucking rantings and ravies, and I'm clearly out of my gourd. Welcome to another episode of the Vault of Doom podcast. I'm Mickey GemInEye, the host. This episode I want to get into some little bit of breaking through some barriers. I'm breaking through some personal barriers and obstacles and personal obstacles I have at the moment with using the correct verbiage and terminology on the show when I'm talking, as it's fittingly titled Play to the Trees and Tap into the Awynn, as there's not been one single not even one single episode where I've seen the breakthrough, where I'm not seeming scared to say the proper terminology, and whether I seem scared to say the proper terminology or not, like, it's a whole nother issue on its own. It's a personal thing. But this episode's called Play to the Trees, Tap into the Awynn, and I'll run through the quick hashtags of hashtag black metal, hashtag black metal music, hashtag atmospheric black metal, hashtag symphonic black metal, hashtag orchestral black metal, hashtag atmospheric black metal, folk black metal, pagan black metal, psychedelic black metal, one-man black metal, cosmic black metal, experimental black metal, dungeon synth wave, black wave, lo-fi, USBM, US, USA, US black metal, American black metal music, American black metal musician, black metal musicians. And on the featured track for this episode, I'm going to show you something exclusive, so in order to keep it with the element of surprise and to preserve the spontaneity, I have no idea what the featured track is going to be on this episode. It's definitely going to be something exclusive, though. It's going to be something exclusive for you to check out on what kind of work I've been doing lately in my recording studio, as I mix and master write and record all of these myself. I sit and often think about how often I would like to perform these on a live stream, as well as where I could find someone to introduce me to others who are gonna enjoy watching, listening to, being there with, and maybe even performing some of this music with me. But for now, I'm using all these hashtags as a way for you to find the content that I make, and labeling this episode Playing to the Trees as a way to tap into the Awynn. As I've written the paragraph here, in a world of constantly recording and sharing all your own activities, I've dedicated an episode about the benefits of simply playing to the trees with this little green magic, and maybe even some black magic, and experience. And you can tap into the Awynn. And this is the point of the show. This is the point of why I like the show, where I could just press record, basically set the thing down, and let myself do the rest of the work. So I am going to actually set this down and just kind of let the spirit of the Awynn do the rest of the work. And it's cool too, I have the microphone up to my face too on this headset I'm wearing, so I don't have to worry about the microphone being too far away as I set it down. But spending some of the time here to chat with you guys is a sacrifice I'm willing to make in order to really establish what I'm doing and have been doing and intend to do with this platform and this medium and this channel, Vault of Doom podcast. Excuse me. Playing to the Trees being the title of the episode here, and tapping into the Awynn is something that I write about a lot in my songs and in my poetry, and I don't articulate enough in my essays or something tangible in that sort of format. It always comes out poetic or song style, but actually articulating this and talking on it is something that's well overdue, just like how well overdue that I am to get some new tats and some new piercings. So I'll sit and talk about this and make sure that I let you guys know when and where I get my new tattoos and piercings, so that I can share that experience with you, for the sheer love of tattooing and piercing, or being tattooed and being pierced. But this, for me, my personal journey and experience through tapping into the Awynn is something that really isn't broadcastable. It's not that it's a very possible thing to do so. I literally just, when I have a car, I hop in my car and drive off to some nature preserve or some wooded area that isn't a nature preserve, and let the stuff flow through me through a pen onto a piece of paper, write the stuff down on my phone, record something later, maybe never record it at all. There's songs that I have done this with and have not recorded any of it, and I'll go to great lengths to go as long as I can without having to record any of the stuff, as the understanding of the Awynn and that creative source of energy is very little to me. I have a very small, minuscule understanding of such things, but a lot of experience with it. So when I do wind up making some new song, and it does find its way into manifestation and has become manifest, in the sense that I can save that notebook for years and just bring the stuff out as I am now with my current projects. And that's really where, for me, I'm safe to do so. I'm safe to speak on these things with the experience, or at least safe enough to speak on this experience with the attachment, with the attached statement to that whatever is there that could be articulated and further expanded upon is totally reserved through lots of personal training and practice, has become totally reserved for future projects, future work, future songs and poems that are put together into a title, or put together into an album, also called a title, and then those go from there. Then you can enjoy a complete product. But right now I'm spread apart. I'm spread too thin, ripped apart, or feeling that way with taking on so much on my own. And that's something I probably should just grin and bear with me, folks. If you do catch any of these new current episodes, and if you do watch any of the older ones, and if you do like the videos and subscribe to these channels of mine and drop your comments and maybe even donate on Cash App also, that you have to bear with me, as I'm currently the only person doing all of this, so I'm not going to be able to have any kind of a let up anytime soon. And it's easy for me to do the playing to the trees, being that I live in the woods. So at any given moment, any song that I sing is something that I can incorporate and inculcate into both of the polarities that I currently teeter-totter and balance. And those are perfectly visible right there on my screen. And what is the meaning of this, and what is the meaning behind this? And well, just like anything that I would expect from myself, well, you'd have to listen closely, and you'd have to read closely, and you would have to pay attention. I understand that the mocking feelings and vibes that I seem to get from people have been confirmed to me through my own course of time, that I've allowed these things to sit and float around in my life and sit and float around in my head, that yes, I am being directly mocked and directly disrespected through certain messages that I receive in what could be considered a higher level of passive-aggressive than your normal social media arguments, where I have an online presence. I am an online content creator, and whether I'm super big and famous about it or making a lot of money about it or not, that the messages that I'm receiving multiple times from multiple people that I regularly frequent, lending my time to, that reaching out to any of these people and trying my best to communicate to any of these people and getting no response, it can leave me feeling a certain way at all. This could be the lamest fucking reaction whatsoever, since I don't have some big, giant, grand, marvelous, extravagant reaction for you. I just have the focus on what I'm doing now and the perseverance to continue going anyway. But I take offense to and take personal the things that I have received, and that's enough of that. It's quite enough of that. So as a side note, I'll leave that at that. So tapping into the Awynn and playing to the trees is something that I can begin to start introducing right now with this episode. I'm glad that I've had the opportunity to do so, and I'm looking forward to actually showing some videos of live demonstrations starting with this episode if I'm feeling like it, if I feel like it, and if I want to by the end of the recording of this episode. So this sort of teaching you of the Awynn, I'm totally unqualified for, so I won't be able to do that. And the preservation of what it means to me is essentially something I shouldn't worry too much about, but I still should worry a little bit about it. But I'm not going to give my aggressors satisfaction of squirming too hard on that, trying to protect my traditions, and that trying to protect my ancient traditions. The absolute fucking desecration of this stuff and absolute destruction of this stuff is a whole nother game. It's a whole nother thing. I'm not going to do anything with any of my fucking time except what would appear to be intentionally confuse the living shit out of you and occasionally scare the piss out of you. So it makes it really easy to make me a target. And that's what should be reserved for another future episode. But it keeps worming its way, wiggling its way into like every paragraph and every sentence somehow. So once again, with the same concept as what I'm saying, as the substance, context, and what I'm saying, or the content of what I'm saying, it's difficult to like pinpoint, or it's not really something, making sense of it is not something I'm going to do. So that's for people who have that as their forte, and then that's their hat, they have their bag, that's their bag, or their jam, not mine. And the fucking goddamn shit that has to do with where I'm actually at with all this stuff is, you know, under a certain context, talking about the dark side of things and kind of almost siding, or even almost siding with it, is totally necessary. And basically, I'm going to rock with this and this whole mentality until the motherfucking wheels fall off. Because there's a supreme amount of freedom there that even in a free country like this, it's nobody seems to understand or is able to kind of communicate reverting back to the old ways or physically being there. So with the way that things are working now, it makes perfect sense to me. I understand completely. There's just one problem with it, that there's no problem with the fact that I can't communicate that with other people, and it leaves me being completely isolated. So I'm stuck sitting writing show notes for an episode over the hill in numbers about an ancient tradition with hashtags about all black metal and all this stuff. It's completely laughable. It's making me a fucking laughing stock. It's making a complete joke out of me. And absolutely no part of me is going to think that there's any excusable thing that has ever been around for the last 4 years. No excuses were ever been allowed in 4 years' time. So in these kind of monumental highlight moments, I sort of take my mind, if it helps you at all, if you happen to be struggling with the same sort of being ripped apart issues, I sort of take the reins myself now, and I take control myself, and I create my own little things that even if I tried to tell you about it, it'll give you, I would be literally serving the same purpose as a pharmacist. And that would not be sufficient whatsoever. For me, at least. I wouldn't be satisfied with that constant needing to run around here, run around and do that, when the the needing to be reserved to fucking have something settled or have things be black and white and yes and no, positive, negative, up and down, as above, so below, all that stuff. Actually writing poetry, actually working on my spellcraft, actually being a person who is open and public with his witchcraft, with his Satanism, with his druidry. That is something that has been already established, and I have to, as a result of maintaining what appears to be to me so much, and actually turns out in reality being whittled down to little by little, littler, smaller, next to nothing, until there's almost literally, it appears there's almost nothing there now, and I'm forced to just fall on some sort of memory of what playing to the trees means to me, and what tapping into the Awynn means to me, and then sort of kind of delegating that power up to the higher people of this and that. I mean, articulating that much is too far. Thinking about it too much that's what that is. That is thinking about it too much, overthinking, and overanalyzing, and catching myself in that is where I can now play myself, my own pharmacist now. Since I appear to not be really broadcasting to anybody at all anyway, I'll just go on ahead and say to myself that I've come to grips with the that I am forced to believe and am driven to a point where I'm the only audience, and I'm basically doing this for myself. So, I mean, with that kind of cloudedness and that kind of junk in my fucking way, and in anybody's fucking way, there's no possible way I could accurately do anything and be anything other than completely and utterly humiliated and embarrassed, and then just literally going on for the sake of being spiteful and been spitefully doing so. So with that said, I have to publicly announce something very important here on this episode, that I'm gonna have to actually change the game and change my name from what my current experimental black metal project is, after all the stuff is out, and then I will reveal the name to it on episode 53, where you can enjoy all the new songs and tracks, and the last ones, because those tracks are numbered, and those days are numbered for Pitiful Spawn. After episode 53, when I've announced the new name and the new game for the new project, boy, am I going to feel better, and boy, do I not want to fucking sit here getting all excited about something that's like 10 episodes away. As the only public episode on the recording of this one that's aired is leaving me to have to go off and gallivant off, sacrifice the time I would be playing with the trees and the time I would be tapping into the Awynn with doing, yet again, more digital grunt work, footwork as a foot soldier, volunteering for free, doing more free shit, and then I'm still somehow supposed to have time for normal, real shit, actual, practical, substantial shit. My better judgment just says, get the fuck out of here right now. But hey, episode 53, the announcement of the new project, will still, to be quite honest with you, be nothing to fucking get excited about at all. Quite honestly. And the rant here that is sort of reflecting on the last few episodes, where this is so not me to be wasting all my energy and breath and anger on just sitting here ranting. I need it for my songs, my music, not sitting here hoping that I'm going to clear the air a little bit and clear some shit up. or actually clearing the air up a little bit with that announcement that I just made, and then realizing that, you know what, it's nothing to fucking get excited about. I shouldn't get excited. I'm not excited. I can't get excited. And it's even that, it's not that bad. It doesn't really, that ain't really all that bad. It doesn't suck. That doesn't really suck that bad. So, but I just hang on to what the fuck these traditions mean to me as best I can, and leave the fucking actual sharing and teaching of this for the people whose job that is. But establishing to myself and to my viewers and my following and my audience, well, that's pretty important to me as well. Maybe it's even just about as much as important, equally and relatively as important as what these fucking words mean here, let alone the traditions behind those words. But with that said, I'm very glad to have the opportunity to try my best here and recap on a concise note, so that if needs come to be, and I have to show this to somebody, like maybe a new druid or a new person in druidry or something like that, be like, hey, this last 5 minutes are safe to show you, but everything else is just me blowing off some steam. Now, the symbols that create the effects is... Oh shit, I sound like I'm teaching. So, the symbols that create the effects of what is intended upon this ancient spirit of creativity and inspiration is one thing. Me being a bit of a drain and aware, super hyper aware that I'm a drain here on the others who might be, you know, a little bit shy, or what's the word, justifiably, righteously, rightfully so, a little bit shy to approach me, and rightfully so. I'm gonna pick the phone back up again. Rightfully so. The ways that I can be a little bit more approachable are like infinite in number. I don't know, cut my hair, shave my face, wear some t-shirts with alligators on them, what have you. I don't, you know, and whatnot. But that's not who I am either. So, you know, one of these days the stuff is gonna catch, and it'll click and mesh and gel, mold, sort of work for me on here. But that's what I'm waiting on, alright. It's certainly for a little bit of busting barrier after barrier before it just feels like nothing, and it's super easy to really actually reach and broach the topics that are on my mind and that I'm attempting to bridge the gap between. So a lot of that stuff's already in the previous episodes. Hoping for that for the future episodes, not so much really something that I mean. I know I just said that, but I don't really mean it. And the stuff that is actually evident to be planned in the future episodes is something that at that point I require your feedback to save me from being interrogated myself, so to speak, on what my plans are or something like that. If you provide your feedback, tell me how you think of the show, well, you can hopefully not feel like you're saving me from something. Then you can feel like you just genuinely want to provide and submit your feedback here. Let alone sending me money and supporting the show to allow for potential sponsorships, where I'm, for example, bumping into people at the bar or a local brewery and the bar owner's there, and I could say, hey, will you sponsor my show, sponsor my podcast, I'll feature your beers and stuff. And I've got to say, when stuff like this happens, any instance like this, I pay attention to whether the person that I'm speaking to and asking the question is registering and processing the question before I ask it. And that I can see that they even, like, maybe even avert their gaze a little bit and say, you know, it's like that. You could say no, and I honestly won't care. I saw you thinking before you were speaking. So it's sort of maybe a big apology. It would be in order here, I guess, for any new followers or anybody that got caught in the storm or anybody that got caught in the whirlwind here. Is you can clearly see we're clearing up some pretty messy, ugly, foggy, distant issues that seem to be just constantly shrouded in mystery that no one can ever find any resolution to. But it's really safe to say I'm the one they blame. And easy to... Small wonder. And small wonder. But let me get back to a little bit more coherent syntax. Would be like, I tap into the Awynn when I'm playing folk black metal. And there's where I might run into some problems. And then, what's the show for if I'm not here to sit and talk about the problems? And then, it's kind of, you had to be there and all that stuff. My time slot has run out. I've run out of time. Slowly, guiding myself gently back down to the end of the show here. My Cashtag is Mickey GemInEye. My linktree is linktree/Mickey GemIneye. I'm on Instagram as Mickey GemIneye. My X profile is Mickey GemIneye. Check out the official Mickey GemIneye YouTube channel. And Mickey GemIneye, the creator of all of this stuff. I've got to say, I'm pretty stoked to see what you guys think of the new episodes. See how also, as much as I am to see how also the new episodes turn out, as when I'm sitting here doing all the editing and stuff, it's like hey, maybe experimental podcasting will be a new thing a new label and hashtag we can attach on stuff too, in case we feel a bit of friction and a moment of jumping out of the comfort zone or uncomfortability and don't know how to describe it, so we just call it experimental this. That's where I leave you guys off. Take care, folks, and remember to grind it out, pound it out, smash it out, bash it out.